Hello everyone, welcome to the another episode of TACOS where we will be talking about community and open source. This talk is about the honoring the people for their contribution for building and nurturing the communities that support open source technologies and cybersecurity for the better and for the safer world. In today's episode, we have Mr. Ankit Mehta. Ankit has been associated with the open source community for years. Ankit has been regional ambassador lead for Mozilla community for 2 years, Mozilla representative for more than 6 years, and mentoring all of them more than 6 months. So Ankit has been also organized for many events to make the people understand about the importance of open web. Even we have been done a couple of events together where we represent about the privacy security. We talk about it. So at present, Ankit has been working with as a business analyst where he works on the areas like strategic planning, requirement analysis, software development, and much more. I think it's better to hear from him. Welcome, Ankit.
Thank you so much, Mehul, and hi everyone. And first of all, I would just start by saying, Mehul, you're doing a fantastic job. And everyone who is watching this stream or listening to the podcast, I would request everyone to just give a round of applause to Mehul for the work he has been doing.
Thank you so much, Ankit. I think, to be very, it's a very nostalgic moment because I know when I was very newbie and a beginners, you were the one of the people who guided me. And to be very honest, the fighting spirit which I learned in the community, right, where you stand for something that you like, hey, you have that get that I want to help people, but you face so many hurdles. How you overcome it with in terms of your communication by answering the right questions to the right people, the way you answering questions. So I still remember everything and I am still doing that. And that is the reason only I'm here, because all those learning with the amazing folks like you. So again, with this podcast, it's just that thank you so much for guiding at that time. And we
My
really
pleasure.
need those kind of people, to to know the understand of or importance of that how actually community work and how actually community help people, not just in their professional career as well, but somewhere I feel like it also add a lot of values to a personal life as well. So let's get started.
Exactly.
All I wanted to how did, because even I don't know how did you started an open source company journey, because
Sure.
at that time I was very beginners and I was curious to know about what happening at that moment, but I didn't know what your journey, right? So if you could tell us.
Sure, definitely. So my open source journey actually started quite late. Uh, I would say later than what it should have started. Um, because so just stepping back a little, I didn't know anything about the world of open source till I actually joined my previous master's degree at Symbiosis in Pune. Before that, I always the word open source, but never really bothered to explore it much or know anything because why? Like, in our entire school life, we have been working with Microsoft and all Microsoft products, all other proprietary products. No one really bothered to teach us about open source. No one really bothered to like introduce us to Linux, let's say. So it was Microsoft, and those who could afford it was Apple. So there was not much conversation about it. And then in my undergrads, uh, I got to know a little more about open source. And when I say a little more about open source, I would just say that I got to know that one, it is free, which, well, was not entirely was told that it is free. Any free open source, again, wrong. And another bit was that, oh, it's open source means you can just go and modify the code of that product however you like, and that's it, that's open source. So these were sort of misconceptions that were taught to me, not taught, but that were introduced to me when it came to open source. The real value and the real, uh, I would say, introduction to open source occurred when I joined my master's degree in Pune. Because in that university, everything. Like all the softwares that we were using, all the platforms that we were using had to be open source. In fact, I still remember the very first day that we went to uni. Our deputy director came in, and he's a very big name in the open source community. So he came in and he asked all of us to remove our laptops from the bags. We did that, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to give all of you a USB stick, which will be having Ubuntu in it. I want all of you to remove Windows, install Ubuntu, and this will be for the next 2 years. Okay. If I see a single laptop which is running Windows on it, while you are at university at least, that laptop will be taken away." It was this strict. And so So my open source journey sort of was a forced journey by my university, but then I started enjoying. The more I explored, the more experiments I did with the system, because now, since the biggest part about open source is experimentation, like you are allowed to do experiments with your machine. Uh, so and that is something that intrigued me a lot. Um, so yeah, that's how I started my open source journey. Just then exploring more and more.
Actually, that recall me that when even I was in my graduation first year, they are all Windows machine, and to be very honest, I didn't remember that I attended any of my practical. Not because of that, but it's used to be very bored because of I tired of seeing that the same thing, and that thing makes me curious at that time. But after second
Exactly.
year, they revamped the complete lab and they installed Linux.
Mhm.
And when I first seated over there, and I was amazed by that with a single terminal window, how can you handle all entire your infrastructure? That make me curious, and then I started research about it. But at that time also, I didn't know that it's a open source. It's by Red Hat. That's what I know. And when I search about Red Hat, it's a company, right? So okay, that's a
Yeah.
maybe the way Microsoft works. Maybe this is by them. But
Mm.
after when I entered to my masters, like a similar story, right? Then
Yes.
I got to know that okay, it's an open source, and that's how it's let's I started and it's fell me into it. And to be very honest, then I never miss any of my practicals. Even I still remember I started cracking the Ubuntu and the Red Hat machines. So even my professor told me that he found out that I cracked the university system, and I hacked it. You
Yes.
can say that. But instead of just, I thought they were going to shout it on me, but they said they feel very happy. I don't know why, and actually they sponsored my first Reddit certification, and
That's awesome. That's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the first moment. And then second, Symbiosis. There's a one story about Symbiosis that Genify, if you remember. So there,
Yeah.
used to be there. So at once 2017 or 18, I was one of the speaker, and at that time using Mac. I went there. I
Mhm.
actually got late for my session because I was traveling from Nashik to Pune. I went there, and they actually told that no proprietary system is allowed, not allowed. I said it's Mac,
Yeah.
and it's a again it's a, because in thought Unix is actually Linux, right?
Yes.
Still, they
Yeah.
don't. They have not allowed me. They gave me another system which has Ubuntu. So I just wanted to add that point that they are that much strict and they're that much passionate about the open source. So and
Oh
I
yeah.
gave
Yes.
presentation on their laptop, so I can feel that, and that's the one of the coolest event that I attended, because there you can find all the open source enthusiasts, like all the communities, whether it's a LibreOffice or OpenOffice or Mozilla
Oh,
always been
oh
there,
yes. Yeah.
right? So that was
Yes.
one of the core area that but yeah, talking about Mozilla, I know you from the Mozilla. So what your journey like, how you got to know about Mozilla community, and what is your first project, and how you made this folks, and yeah, I want to know about that.
Yeah. Sure. So my journey with Mozilla actually started while I was focusing a lot on open. They were giving a lot of importance to it. And then I came to know that, okay, there are a lot of open source communities. Like that's how you build projects in open source. You just like as I mentioned that misconception earlier, you just go take a product and just go do some random code changes and it'll all be fine. No, it's not how it happens. So it's all built by a community. And then I started exploring, okay, fine, what are the communities which at least visit Symbiosis, or let's say communities which professors were a part of. So I came to know about Drupal community. So attended one or two events. There were met a lot of amazing people. There was a lot of buzz about it. At least for sorry, just give me a moment. Sorry about that. Um, so so yeah, there was a lot of buzz about Drupal, at least till the event was going on. And then after the event, all the volunteers had gone back to their own cities and states, and I was left with no one in Pune. I was like, okay, now what? What do I do alone? And then I came to know about Wikipedia. So I contributed a little bit to Wikipedia, but again, I was not that happy uh, because there was a community, but it was all virtual. There was no face-to-face community, at least that I, not one that I knew of at that time. And then I attended the same festival that you just mentioned, Grunify in Symbiosis, and came to know about Firefox Student Ambassador program that is run by Mozilla in all these universities. So that intrigued me, and then I came to know that actually Symbiosis had one of the biggest and the strongest Firefox student community in, if not in India, at least in Pune. I was like, okay, why not take advantage of this? And then I started seeing these people with awesome shirts and bands and caps and bags and everything. Um, so I was like, okay, this looks cool. So I can be a cool kid. I can be a nerd and a cool kid. So I approached them. I told them that I would like to join the community, and they said, "Hey, what are you good at? What would you like to do?" So I said, okay, I would like to start from the basics. So let me just uh, start volunteering at events, not giving a talk, but organizing. So I started at a very, very basic level. Like I used to go to various Firefox events or Mozilla events in Pune and just make sure that there are enough benches to sit, there is enough water, there are enough stickers and t-shirts and Mozilla swags, what they call, for everyone who is attending the event. So just started with these things because my major interest was to understand the whole community system from the ground up. So when I joined the community, I didn't join it thinking that, okay, I want to be a community leader. I I mean, I realized that that will happen eventually, but I wanted to understand from the very ground level how an event is organized, um, and how uh, things are being communicated across across communities and across different types of audiences. So that was my major aim when I joined the community. So my initial projects were, you can say, just attending events, making sure things are fine, and listening to the actual speaker of the event. And it can
And
be on
then
any topic.
yeah, and then you became a speaker.
Yes, yes. Then then I started uh, getting confident about the topics, and I got very much interested in the privacy side of things. So I started exploring that, doing my own research, plus contributing to Mozilla community in form of spreading awareness around privacy and online security and on open web. So yeah, then I started doing events. I started organizing events on my own and attending as a speaker at various universities.
So, can we say that by entering the community or by participating community, you actually learn a lot of skills, not just a
Oh
technical
yeah, a
skill,
lot.
not just a non-technical skill as well, but how to even organizing an event, how to keep, as you said, like from the water bottles to all small things. So that also help you to learn the management skills as well, like how you can manage the events, right? And that
Oh yes,
also,
definitely.
right? So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because if you think of very small things as well, like, and this is not just about, let's say, an event, right? It's a life skill as well. For
right,
example, you are in your corporate environment and you are organizing a meeting. Now you know that the meeting is going to be a 2 hours meeting,
right,
um, and nobody will be ready to attend a 2 hours meeting, but you still need people to sit there, brainstorm, give
correct.
inputs. Then you need to make sure that there are enough toilet breaks in the middle, and you need to be strategic about, okay, when would those toilet breaks be.
Right.
It should not it should not break their flow of thought, but at the same time it should not become like, oh, it's been an hour and a half and I need to go pee. Okay,
Yeah.
something as simple as that.
Right.
And there is enough water, or there are enough snacks in the room, or there is something that the audience is going to take away from that meeting. So all these things I learned from this community experience at Mozilla.
Mhm. Right, of course. Even one of the things that even I learned is that how to be patient enough to answering the questions, right? Because that one
Yes.
of the I think one of the skill which helped me a lot. Because when we were in college, when anyone asks, we are not waiting them to finish the question and we start answering them, right? So I
Yes.
would say I was not the very much good listener at that time, but now yes I am, because until I don't understand the question, or before that, until you don't listen the question carefully, I don't think so you can answer. And that one of the skill that helped during this, you can say this, those experimental events, from being a volunteer to being the organizer. And I hope you have the same feeling, right?
Oh yes, definitely, definitely. I uh, became a good listener, I would say. Exactly the same things that you mentioned, like listening to the audience, listening to the questions, listening to the problems, which is a very, very important skill anywhere, not just at events, but anywhere. And also, not just the audience, but listening to your partners or co-speakers as well, or community members as well.
Mhm,
Because, see, at the end of the day, you are a community and you are facing and overcoming challenges together.
mhm.
It's not
Right.
just you. So that's a big advantage of a community, and that is something that uh, is a life skill as well, I would say. Even in the corporate environment, you meet and interact with a lot of different types of people, with different types of knowledge background, different types of social background.
Right.
So listening to everyone, understanding everyone's problems, and then accordingly tackling it. Uh, that is another very important skill that such communities give you.
Totally. And one more thing that, as you mentioned, that you are part of you started exploring the Wikipedia, then Drupal, then Mozilla, right? So ultimately, it's a lot of community that you part of. But what important
Yes.
that I found that joining the community is very easy, but to make them sustained, to make them active is something very difficult. And you have been doing from such a long time at that time, right? So
Yeah.
what kept you interested to doing that? Right, because ultimately that helped a lot of other people who joined the community as soon as possible and they left the community also before that time gap. So yes.
Yes. So for me, it was more about passion. Like it was, I feel or I believe that I am a very people's person. So I enjoy interacting with people. I enjoy discussing. I enjoy teaching a lot as well. So right now I'm actually even a part-time teacher, and I've been teaching at my university here in Melbourne since a couple of years now. because and that is something that I'm doing out of passion, out of love for teaching, out of love for helping people, out of love for volunteering. So I feel something that would keep the community going is for you to sort of express that passion and instill that passion in others. Because, see, a lot of people might be joining a community for a lot of different reasons. Like, there could be good reasons, there could be a little selfish reasons as well. Like, someone might be joining a community just for a cool t shirt, or just to appear in, let's say, a college magazine that, okay, this name is there under this community. Some of them might be joining a community, I get to travel for free. Fine, that's also a good benefit. Some of them might be joining a community, let's say, because there's a good looking girl or a good looking guy in that community. So, that will be a good way for me to interact with that person. Um, End of the day, the people who stick with a who are really passionate about the whole idea behind that community and the whole ideology, I would say, uh, of why that community came into existence in the first place and why it is important that it exists forever.
Right.
Um, so that is so yeah, there'll be people who'll join community and there'll be people who leave. That's fine. But at the end of the day, the ones who will always be with the community are the ones who are the most passionate about it, and that will also by your mentors within the community, because
Totally.
if your mentors themselves are not passionate enough, then yeah, even you wouldn't be. It's the same like how you would work in a corporate environment, right? Like, if your manager doesn't bother about the company or about its products or about, let's say, uh, whatever customers that product is helping,
Totally.
and how we deliver that product, employees also won't be bothered at all. Like, they'll also just be interested in doing whatever they do from 9 to 5, get a paycheck, and that's it. There'll be no
Right.
passion, there'll be no happiness by anyone. So community, I feel, is more about happiness. Um, and something that really I loved about community and Mozilla is that experience of volunteering. Because when you're volunteering, in this case, let's say in case of Mozilla, it is in a way charity, right? Because you're giving your time, you're not giving money. But if you think about it, time is money. So you are indirectly giving money towards, by giving your time. So yeah, to answer your question, I would say that it's all about passion. It's all about happiness that you get by uh, recruiting and training people who are equally passionate,
Totally.
and who want to continue your sort of legacy, you can say.
Totally, totally. As couldn't agree more because, as you said, it's all about passion. And yes, people join the community with their own motivation. It could be anything, right? But I think that is one of the true quality of leader that you should bring a new leader into the community. It's just not you, like you will be the leader for the longer time because ultimately you know the benefits and there is a sake, right? कि अगर फ्री मिल रहा है तो यार मैं किसी और को क्यों दूं. Simple.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very simple, in that
correct.
case, right?
Yeah,
But something like by sharing and by contributing, that is the meaning of the contribution. Like you are giving the opportunity to others. I still remember like when I got the Mozilla Fest invitation two times. Like like I got the invitation from the two different teams, which means I have two sponsorship. So I didn't mind to give the sponsorship to someone else who actually deserve it. But before that, what was the case happened is like when I actually first time I got an invitation and that due to some circumstances couldn't able to make it. At that time I feel very sad. But at that time I realized that if you have an expectation with something, I think that leads you nowhere. So better if you're joining the community, first thing you should not have any expectation because if you have a passion, you should not have expectation. Simple. And second. And second most important point, you mentioned that time is money, right? You're giving your time. And often you also might this question a lot that, yeah, I don't have a time to contribute. I cannot able to manage my time because I have a college, I have an assignment, I have my professional, a lot of other things. So I always say, okay, if you don't have a time, no one force you over here. But if you're passionate about something, I don't think so. You need to look at the time clock and then you say, "यार मेरे पास time नहीं है," like that. So this is the way I answer them a lot of time, and absolutely right when you said that ki, get a free travel, you travel a lot, and you get into the magazine. People ask me a lot of time that, hey Mehul, you traveled a lot, like, but I see that they see the way I traveled, or the way we using those luxuries, but the luxuries comes when you did some long years of hard work. So they don't see that actually, and they don't want to contribute in that area which I am doing. I would rather say you do in the area which you are really passionate about, so that you don't need to manage your time. Ultimately, you don't say, "यार मेरे पास time नहीं है," right? So
So as I was mentioning for that, as I was mentioning, so free travel or your name in the magazine or a celebrity status in your community or in your university, these are all benefits of doing the hard work. So first you need to put in that hard work. You need to show that passion. You need to deliver certain results. And once you start doing that, all of this will automatically come. Like you don't need to ask for it. But if you start with the conception that, okay, I need free travel, that's why I want to join the community, then that will never happen.
never
So
happened.
it's so
Yeah.
yeah, so it's as simple as that.
And one more thing that if you see a problem, you need to start fixing it instead of just telling people that, hey, this is the problem. I think one of the incident that I occurred when I think me and Ankit attended the Maker Fest, and at that time, so many people comes to me and talk about the Mozilla Gujarat in overall, right? And we started a small initiative that we are going to fix it. That in some way we wanted to make that community very active because Gujarat is something which very close to both of us, right? And
Yes.
uh, and I think while started, I still remember those conversations when we started it. We faced a lot of problems at that time, and at some
Oh
point,
yes, yes.
yes, you remember that. So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
would you
Good
like to
old
share
days.
like, how anyone can avoid those kind of conversation and still continue doing that? Because I still remember at some moment, I think me and Ankit, if you कि लेट छोड़ दे यार, लाइक जाने दो जिनको जो करना है करो, बट आई थिंक देन वी हैड अ कन्वर्सेशन दैट नहीं यार, दोनों में से कोई एक लेट्स डू समथिंग सिंस यू
Yeah,
आर नॉट हियर, you went to Australia at that time, I guess, I know, right
yeah,
after that.
yeah.
And then I started doing that, and the end result, like Mozilla Gujarat is like, at that time one of the most active community in
Oh yes,
2008.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
would you
I
like to
think there is now a reps council member also from.
Yes, yes. So that's something that I recall, and so I just wanted to pick up that how anyone can see the problem, start fixing it without any worrying about let what others are going to say, and how others are going to say, okay, this is something my area, or start taking or showing the ownership, because when there is a community, there is no ownership, right? So would you like to share on that?
So um so yeah, this is more to do with I mean, I would say, going back to the character, one of the characteristics of open source, which is experimentation, right? So like if I remember when Mehul and I wanted to start or sort of revamp the Mozilla Gujarat community. It was we were approaching universities. Either they were not interested, or uh, they didn't see any like output of this, or they wanted to sort of, they were more bothered about getting the brand of Mozilla than actually empowering the students, to be honest. And so we were facing a lot of challenges. Like we faced a lot of criticism, a lot of challenges. But then what we kept doing is that we kept experimenting. We kept saying that, okay, you are not interested in, let's say, talking about events, then fine, let's talk about privacy and security. Now, your students have a unit uh, in their curriculum around cybersecurity. Then why not Mehul and I just come and do a half an hour or a 1 hour session with your students on basic privacy and security, uh, which people think that they know, but they actually don't. So yeah, we started with universities and taking half an hour sessions or 1 hour session with the students, and then the students only started approaching their own professors that we are interested in doing what these guys are doing. So can we have one more session with them to see how we can start uh, a community in our own university? And that is something that little spark kickstarted this whole uh, Mozilla Gujarat community, and then I had to come to Australia, but then Mehul took upon a great responsibility and a great job of uh, sort of making sure that Mozilla Gujarat community keeps growing more and more, and starts educating more people from different backgrounds, different socio-economic backgrounds as well. Uh, the that's the main thing about Mozilla community, that the whole concept of open web, it's not just for students or for professionals. It is for everyone. It can be a bus driver or a CEO sitting in some big company or a government official who
Right.
has nothing to do with privacy, but it is about everyone, and that is something that Mozilla Gujarat community did great, and it was a great job done by Mehul.
Yeah, I think it's a all team efforts, and thanks to you as well, because you are the one who pushed me up first at a very initial level. But yes, as you said that being a leader, it's your responsibility to bring the new leaders into the community, because
Yes.
otherwise at one moment there is a time that you need to left because of certain other responsibilities where you cannot take care of the rest of the things. So at that time,
Yeah.
that is the one area where community become, I would say, not active, or let's say start losing their presence. But if you
Yeah.
recruit the way you used to do, right, you used to recruit the new ambassadors and the new volunteers in the community. So I wanted to have a question on that, that how, what kind of mindset I think people or any volunteer or the contributors or the leader should have, what kind of mindset they should have.
Yeah. So the first point is about empathy. So the leader should be having a lot of empathy for the community members as well as the audience, because they need to be able to understand the problems the community is facing, as well as the audience. Of course, for audience, you need to understand the problems because that's what you are there for as a speaker. But within the community as well, um, you need to understand your members are what problems your members are facing. There might be a member who would come to you and say that, um, I want to organize an event. I want to step up from my role. Let's say I've like the same state that I was in, right? Like I have been attending the events. I have been helping out with arranging the events. Now this is the first time I want to be a speaker, but I don't have confidence. What do I do? Now, if you're a good leader, then you would sit with that person, understand, okay, this is the first time this person is going and doing some public speaking. Okay, what are the points you're going to discuss with the audience? Let's go through them. If there is some change required, or how can that person be better? Okay, do rehearsals in front of me. Let's do it 2 times. Let's do it 3 times. So, this is again something that a leader should give time to their community members for. So it's not just about enjoying the status of being a leader, but it's more about helping your community grow. And uh, after a certain point, giving and going back to the point that you very well mentioned, giving a chance to someone else to be a leader. So let's say you have been mentoring a community member, and after 5 events or 6 events that that person has spoken at, you are now confident. Then at the next event, you can ask them to be the main organizer of the event, or for that person to cover the most important topic of that whole talk, uh, or that person to go to some of the most what do you say, elite, I wouldn't say elite, but like one of some of the more important events, and go speak there and represent Mozilla there.
Right.
So and you sort of take a step back and start mentoring someone else, because now that person that you have been mentoring this far has become independent. They have become a leader now. Now your chance is now your time is to advise them and mentor someone else and build more leaders. So this is a
Right.
mindset that you need to be like have as a leader.
Right. And what I want to add over here, even if let's say if there is someone, the people, let's say those who are the community leaders who have looked up to, and if they don't have that kind of mindset, but if you have that enthusiasm, you can go and approach them. Hey, I wanted to take that responsibility. Can you give it to me? Because I still remember that's what I did. Because 2016 I attended as a volunteer, but 2017 I was the organizer who recruit the other volunteers to present in the Makerfest. So I think,
Yeah,
but so that's what I did because no one asked me to do it. But what I did, hey, I want to take the responsibility for it quick, and I think that I'm able to handle it. So
yeah,
even if
exactly.
that two ways, if whether someone give it to you, if they are not giving it to you, you should not wait for them to give it to you. You should go and
Yes,
approach them. What
yes,
what could be happen? Whether say yes or no. If they say no, then there are other ways as well. You can start looking for other things as well. But you should not wait. The bottom line. So that the one of the right. Am I making sense?
exactly. No, definitely, and that's what experimentation means. Like you are experimenting with your own skills. You are experimenting with your own uh, comfort zone, I would say.
So,
Like now suddenly you want to experiment that, okay, now I want to get out of my comfort zone and try to arrange an event rather than just attending one.
right.
And yeah, and you take your initiative, and that's the beauty about open source communities. You can take initiatives, you can
Yeah,
experiment with your skills and your comfort zone.
exactly. And the better is even if you fail, there's no need to worry about it because you can continue doing an experimentation somewhere or the another. Because even me and Ankit, I'm sure we did a lot of experimenting, and I'm not sure like we succeed all the time. We might
Yeah, yeah,
fail,
definitely. Yeah.
but the common part was that we continuously doing that. And one of the key learning that I, because of everything whatever we discussed till now, that build a very good network, or I would say a very good
Yeah.
network of people which is surrounded by you, and which can also help you not just in a personal but a professional career as well. Even I've seen a lot
Oh
of
yes.
students who are going to abroad, and I think community does help them as well at that time because you know someone from there, and you go there, they somewhere help you. So I think community also does work beyond that, right?
Oh yes, definitely. And that's another beauty about these international communities like Mozilla, right? There are volunteers everywhere around the world. So when I was planning to come to Australia, um, so again, this is another thing, stepping out of the comfort zone. I just came to know that okay, there is an Australia Mozilla community. So I pinged them that hey, I am a student from India coming to Australia, and I have been associated with Mozilla for the last 3 years. I am at so and so role, and I would just like to know more about Australia as a country and more about work opportunities there and the whole education system. And can you please give me a few pointers? And they were happy to do that. They got back to me, replied to all my queries, very, very helpful. And so I could get a perspective from someone who has been living here and probably has gone through the same journey that I will be going through as a student and then as a IT professional in a completely new country. So I got that perspective rather than just going on, I don't know, doing some online research on my own, which is usually biased.
Right.
So I got that. So I got that really positive response. I got that really good feedback, and because of that, I got that confidence as well to step into a completely different country, completely different culture. Um, and then I met them as well. So once I came here, uh, 2 or 3 months, I just took some time to adjust to this whole new environment, and then I was like, okay, let me now start Mozilla community in my university. Uh, so then I met the Mozilla community members who were present in different states and different universities, and I asked them, okay, then how do you approach your university board, because it's quite different than how you would do in India.
Totally.
So there's a very formal procedure here. Uh, so I got some pointers on that, and then I approached my university uh, cabinet, the community cabinet, with a proposal of what I want to achieve and how I would like to build this community. So, so yeah, you definitely get a lot of help uh, internationally, like not just in your own city. And even after that, to explore more about the IT industry in general, I got a lot of feedback and a lot of tips from the community members who have been in Australia since many years.
I think that is the best part that let's whenever anyone asks like you want to contribute, the first thing I think what can I get? What should I get? Like that. कि
Yes.
मुझे क्या
Yeah.
मिलेगा? But I think what I say like it's all about the perspective. You need to think in what sense you can get. Let's say by going
Yeah.
to any other country and getting the help, this is also a benefit of being part of community, right? Being
Definitely. Yeah.
into a company and job interview and someone recommending you, it also benefit, I would say.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Traveling to another
Yeah,
city and
I know a lot of community members, in fact, who have got a job straight after university because they were recommended by one of their community leaders,
Mhm.
Mozilla community leaders in their own company, and they have seen their good work while they were studying. So seen their contribution, be it technical or uh, event related contribution. So they've seen all these things for 2 3 years while they were studying in the university, and once they are out, they
Mhm.
actually approached their managers and said that this guy is really good. We need to hire him before some other company takes him.
Right.
So I've seen a lot of such people in when I was studying in Pune as well.
Yeah, of course, of course. Even I known so many people who got, even I think I got my third job when I was working with Zimra. So I got just because of my community contribution. There are no single question asked about like about a technical question which was actually prerequisite or the mandatory area. Instead of that, the manager was more curious to know about my contribution because the company which I applied for, it's a purely open source product based company, so they were very much enthusiastic. So I want to know like what exactly I'm doing in Mozilla. And so it's very beautiful
Yeah.
story as well. So I think that is one of the coolest area I would say. But I think your majority of area and and participants is done with the Mozilla. So which of the one of the coolest program that you felt like in Mozilla? And I think I'm sure that the most of the program is which might not be the active stage right now because it's so many programs revamp. But what was your favorite, or let's say one of the programs that you would recommend to join people?
Um, so for me, it was, and I'm being a bit biased towards it, but it was a program that I started. I was a part of starting it. It was, I think, 3 or 4 people. We started something called as the Privacy Task Force.
Okay.
It was during one of the events we had in Bangalore, I think, where there were 3 other members and me, and we came up with this idea that okay, let's let's start educating people around privacy and security in the most basic sense. Like we are not asking people to write scripts or anything, but this task force will be focused towards educating mainly non-IT people about privacy and online privacy and security. And that was an initiative which really took off. Uh, I am not sure if it is still running. I have not been associated with it for a while now, but I hope it is still running. Um, but during when I was contributing there, we had a lot of fun. I remember I was called by Prathamesh. He was your last week's
Yeah.
guest speaker, I remember. So um, he had called me during Ganesh festival to his apartment, and so it was him and I with a bunch of kids and a bunch of senior citizens, and we them about privacy and security. So that was a fantastic event. It was just two of us. All around us, there were various arti sounds going on while we are actually some doing some very cool activities with kids and senior citizens around privacy and security, asking them questions, and even they started getting involved a lot. So that
Yeah.
was a fantastic feeling. So that was a very good project, I would say, with Mozilla that I was lucky to be a part of. Uh, yeah, and other than that, I even contributed a little bit to localization. Not much, but even that was a very good initiative. I think it was called L10N.
Yeah, Elton.
Um,
Elton
yeah,
is
so that was
actually,
also a fantastic work.
yeah. Even I am not very much active from last 1.5 years, so even I'm not sure what are the programs is active this stage. But yeah, couple of programs are not in the active stage, and so many things revamped, and they started did a complete different community portal, which is also very fascinating, right? And
Yeah,
it's going to be very helpful for the students for sure. But just wanted to know,
definitely.
this kind of a conversion will definitely lead them a help that what kind of motivation they need. And you said your Ganesh festival story. I think that's one of the beauty when you participate in events or part of comedy, you build up or come up with a lot of stories which is actually real
Yeah.
as well as interesting when you share after a couple of years, right?
Yes.
So do you recall any apart from that, any such memories which you think, okay, it is one of the amazing, I'm sure all the stories or all the memories were cherishable, but any particular thing, memory that you would like to share?
Oh yeah, there are a lot of such stories. I remember um, I was asked to join an event as a privacy task force speaker um, in a university, and it was at very last moment, and they said that okay, tomorrow morning we have to leave and go to that particular university and give a talk for 2 hours. And I was like, okay, fine, no worries. I'm up for it. Uh, so next morning, the car came to pick me up. We went. It was a 4.5 hours journey from I don't know tens or hundreds of villages, and then finally we reached a university somewhere in Maharashtra. I have no idea. I mean, I don't remember what the name of the was. So somewhere in Maharashtra, we went there, and it was actually a day off, but there were some 25 students who were there just to listen to our talk. Um, and that was amazing. That was an amazing feeling. Like the whole university was empty. It was a holiday. These 25 students didn't have to really come. No one was forcing them to come, but they just came out of curiosity. They just came out of that passion. And then after that talk, we ended up actually initiating a community in that university. So that was an amazing feeling. And I remember there was one more event wherein it was in Pune itself. It was in some girls' college. It was during a college festival, and our entire team went there for the talk to give the talk. And there were 40 students in the audience, and it was a long talk. It was like a 3 hours session. It covered a lot of topics, and it was practical as well. So by the end of 3 hours, there were three students left in the auditorium. So we have had such experiences as well.
I think that was the best part. And I would say after the event, the kind of fun we have with the volunteers with us. I think I still remember
Oh
like
yes, yes,
Liquor Fest after the event, we used to hang out, go to have eat food. And if you remember, every volunteer seated on the road and we started cleaning the photographs. You remember that?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It was
it
beautiful.
was
Yeah, we have,
fun.
and one of the best part that reminds me, one of the best parts of this whole experience within the Mozilla community was that we used to have community meetups every fortnight. So
Fortnite,
every
yeah.
alternate week we used to meet up at Cafe Coffee Day or some cafe,
Most
and it
cafe,
was not necessarily
most
sorry.
cafe, most coffee. They
Oh,
said that
oh yeah,
event name.
oh yes, was cafe. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So and it was not always regarding just okay, let's meet up and let's plan an event. It was just like casual as well. Like we used to just hang out and we used to talk about all the random things in the world that not necessarily about Mozilla. So that builds a lot of network, that builds a lot of confidence, that builds a lot of other social skills as well.
Yeah, of course. I think for me that was one of the highlight part where you meet the like-minded people, right? And you take that with you from a longer time. And I would say
Yeah,
that's something that you are not meet in the college or in your school as well, because those are very different people to whom you are network with. These are the people who have a different level of the enthusiasm, you can say that. And
oh yes, definitely.
and kind of you won't face that you're meeting them for first time, though you don't know them, but
Yeah,
when you met them, in the next minute you start interact with them, you know that it has a mutual feeling, right? And we are here for same
yes,
agenda. The only thing is different that everyone has a different way to express it, and that is the best part. That comes with like we have diversity in this area, and that people connect to each other, and that was the best part. Okay,
yes.
like my last question for you is like what are the three advice that you would like to give to anyone who would like to start contributing to open source?
Sure. So my first advice would be open to experimentation. So just any project, like pick up any open source project and just keep experimenting, keep building things, keep having fun with it, keep exploring it more. You might build something uh, completely out of this world by using something very basic, like a very basic open source tool, let's say, and you would end up making something really great that would help this world a lot. So, first would be keep experimenting. My second advice would be em- to empathize with uh, the the audience, and by audience I don't mean you're like going to an event and you are a speaker and your audience. By audience as in, let's say if you're building a tool, let's say if you're building something like a cool gadget or a cool software using open source, empathize with the person who will be using it, because if you don't empathize with that person you won't really be solving any problem. uh, yeah, you'll create something cool which is useless, but you can build something basic which is very useful. So you need to understand the difference between these two. And the third advice I would give is just enjoy the process. Like, don't uh, think about the benefits, don't think about uh, what will I get out of this. Just start doing it, just start enjoying. If you are enjoying what you are doing, I'm sure you will feel like doing it more, and the more you do, the more you'll get.
Couldn't agree more. I think that is okay. This is the my personal favorite question is which I ask everyone. Like if you go back in time and if you do something else, what that would be, right? So maybe you are a writer, actor, director, whatever. So
Oh, me, I would definitely like to be a cinematographer. I would, I would definitely like to be in the space of direction or cinematography, somewhere around that.
I've seen one of your two videos on the Instagram that you posted. It was a time lapse, I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So I think you should definitely do that. Even if the
yeah,
parking, you can.
yeah,
That is okay. Nice,
yeah. I
nice
would
to know.
definitely love to do that. Yeah, thanks for the motivation. Actually, that reminds me, I need to create more videos.
I still recall that when you first time posted that, I've seen the complete video. So I think, and it was
Mhm.
captured very beautifully. And
Thank you.
even the location was really beautiful. But yeah, when so two things are important. Location is also important, but the way you captured it, that is also important to make the people engage. So I've seen two or three videos, I would say, and it was amazing. So you can definitely
Thank
go
you.
ahead. Definitely go ahead. So I think
Yes, thank you.
was amazing conversation. Do you have any end note for this episode? Anything you would like to share?
Oh no. Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you all the best, and I wish the podcast all the best. And I mean, it's a really useful and helpful podcast to everyone. I would say not just students, but to all all professionals. Doesn't matter you're working for an open source company or a proprietary company or any sort of company. Open source and a community approach to open source opens a lot of doors for you to uh, sort of explore yourself, explore your skills which you never knew you had, and to meet a lot of different people. So make the best use of it. And thanks a lot again, Mehul, for inviting me, and it's been a pleasure.
I think the purpose was already solved because that was the motto of to start this podcast to bring the people and share the stories and let the other know that how amazing it was to be part of and how we were
Yeah,
doing by by keeping all those things aside and just keeping the passion in mind. So we wanted to bring those all these awesome stories with the people and what it better with the people you already connected with, right?
yeah, definitely.
Yes, and thank you so much. And to be very, I think this is going to be one of my memorable episode because first of all, I'm seeing you after a very long time, right?
Oh,
So
yes, yes.
that's the best one. It recall me all our conversation, everything. But keeping that in mind, I'll see you soon for sure in person because
Definitely.
I think that's going to be happen for sure very soon. Thank you so much, Ankit.
Awesome. That's great. Waiting to meet you soon. Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks, Mehul.